Please, just tell me what's wrong.
I can't. You wouldn't understand.
I still remember the meeting that changed my life. That morning, I walked into the conference room holding my laptop and a notebook. My hands felt steady. I had spent 3 weeks preparing the marketing strategy one was about to present. "Morning," Daniel Brooks said as I entered. "Morning, Daniel," I replied. Daniel was my manager. He had always supported my ideas, which was why I felt confident standing there. Several coworkers were already seated around the table. I noticed Clara Bennett leaning back in her chair, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I connected my laptop to the projector. "Well," she said with a faint smile, "this should be interesting." I ignored the comment and started the presentation. "Thanks everyone for coming," I said. "I've prepared a strategy that could help us attract younger customers." Daniel nodded. "Go ahead." I clicked to the first slide. "Our research shows that social media engagement has dropped 20% over the last quarter," I explained. "So my proposal focuses on short-form content and influencer partnerships." I continued explaining the data and campaign ideas. For a moment, the room stayed quiet. Then I heard Clara laugh. It wasn't a polite laugh. It was sharp. I paused. "Is something funny?" I asked. Clara leaned forward. "Are you serious right now?" she said. The room went still. "This," she continued, pointing at the screen, "is the big strategy you've been working on." I felt heat rise in my chest. "Yes," I said calmly. "It's based on the engagement numbers we collected last month." Clara shook her head. "I can't believe this," she said. Daniel cleared his throat. "Clara," he said carefully, "let him finish." But she didn't stop. "No, I'm sorry," she said, raising her hands. "But this is basic stuff. Anyone could come up with this." A few coworkers shifted in their seats. I tried to stay calm. "There's more detail in the next section," I said. "If you let me explain." "Oh, please," Clara interrupted. She turned toward the others. "Do we really need a slideshow for common sense?" Someone at the table gave a nervous chuckle. My stomach tightened. I clicked to the next slide anyway. "This campaign would target 3 main platforms," I said. "If we focus on..." Clara leaned back and laughed again. "Unbelievable." I stopped speaking. "What exactly is unbelievable?" I asked. Clara tilted her head. "You honestly think this is impressive?" she said. "I think it's a solid strategy," I replied. She crossed her arms. "It's boring," she said. Silence filled the room. I looked at Daniel. He rubbed his chin but didn't say anything. I tried again. "The goal isn't to be flashy," I said. "The goal is results." Clara smirked. "Results?" she repeated. "You think clients will pay us for ideas they could find online in 5 minutes?" I felt the humiliation growing stronger. "I spent weeks analyzing this," I said. Clara shrugged. "Maybe you should have spent those weeks thinking harder." The words hit harder than I expected. I looked around the room. Most people avoided eye contact. Ethan Miller, sitting near the end of the table, looked uncomfortable. "Maybe we should move on," someone muttered quietly. But Clara wasn't finished. "I'm just being honest," she said. "If this is our standard now, we are in trouble." My chest felt tight. I stared at the presentation slide that had once made me proud. Now it looked small. "Do you have a better suggestion?" I asked. Clara smiled. "Plenty." "Then share one," I said. She shrugged again. "That's not my job right now." Daniel finally spoke. "All right," he said slowly. "Let's keep this constructive." But the damage was already done. I closed my laptop halfway. For a moment nobody spoke. Clara tapped her pen on the table. "Look," she said casually, "I'm not trying to embarrass you." Her smile said otherwise. "I just think we need stronger ideas." The room stayed silent. I packed my notebook slowly. My hands felt heavier now. Daniel looked at me. "You can continue if you want," he said. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to defend my work. Another part of me felt completely drained. "I think I've said enough," I replied quietly. Clara leaned back in her chair again. "Well," she said softly, "that was quick." Someone cleared their throat. The meeting moved on to other topics, but I barely heard them. My thoughts were still stuck on that laugh, the sharp, careless laugh that echoed in my head. When the meeting finally ended, people stood up and walked out. No one said anything to me. I closed my laptop slowly. Clara passed by my chair. "Don't take it personally," she said. Then she walked away. I stayed in the room for a moment longer. My chest still burned with humiliation. Something inside me had cracked. At the time, I didn't realize how important that moment would become. But looking back now, I understand the truth. That meeting wasn't just embarrassing. It was the moment my life began to change. After the meeting ended, people quietly left the room. I packed my laptop slowly while chairs scraped against the floor. No one looked directly at me. 2 coworkers walked past the door whispering, "Did you see Clara's face?" One of them said quietly. "Yeah," the other replied. "That was brutal." I kept my eyes on my bag. A few seconds later, Clara walked past me. She stopped beside my chair. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," she said casually. I looked up at her. "But someone had to point out the obvious," she added. Her smile was small but sharp. "I appreciate the feedback," I said. "Good," she replied. "You should." Then she walked out of the room like nothing had happened. I sat there for another minute. My chest still felt tight. When I finally returned to my desk, the office felt strangely quiet. Some coworkers were typing. Others pretended to focus on their screens. I noticed 2 people glance at me, then quickly look away. I opened my laptop but couldn't concentrate. The presentation slides still filled the screen. The same slides that Clara had laughed at. A few minutes later, someone stopped beside my desk. "Hey," a voice said. I looked up. It was Ethan Miller. Ethan worked on the analytics team. We had spoken a few times before, but we weren't close. He pulled a chair next to my desk. "Mind if I sit for a minute?" he asked. "Sure," I said. He leaned back slightly. "About the meeting," he said. I sighed. "You don't have to say anything," I replied. "No," he said. "I do." He lowered his voice. "Don't listen to Clara." I looked at him. "She does this to everyone," he continued. "That didn't feel like everyone," I said quietly. Ethan gave a small shrug. "She likes attention," he said. "And meetings are her favorite stage." I stared at my desk. "Still," I said, "I didn't expect that." "Most people don't," Ethan replied. He looked around the office briefly before speaking again. "You know she argued with Daniel last month too, right?" "About what?" I asked. "Someone else's proposal," he said. I blinked. "She did the same thing." "Pretty much," Ethan replied. I leaned back in my chair. "That's comforting," I said slowly. "But it doesn't change how today felt." Ethan nodded. "Yeah," he said. "Public criticism always hurts." For a moment we both stayed quiet. Then Ethan spoke again. "Honestly, your idea wasn't bad," he said. I looked at him. "You don't have to be polite," I said. "I'm not," he replied. "It was practical." Clara called it boring. She calls everything boring unless it's her idea. I couldn't help letting out a small laugh. It was the first laugh I had made since the meeting. Ethan noticed. "See," he said. "You're still alive." "Barely," I replied. He leaned forward slightly. "Listen," he said. "Don't let one meeting destroy your confidence." I rubbed my forehead. "It wasn't just the criticism," I admitted. "What was it then?" he asked. "The laughter." Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That part was unnecessary." I stared at the screen again. "I spent weeks on that presentation," I said. "I know," he replied. "How?" "You were here late almost every evening." I looked at him with surprise. "You noticed." "Hard not to," he said. "Your desk light was usually the last one on." For a moment I didn't know what to say. "Thanks," I said finally. Ethan stood up. "No problem." Before leaving he added one more thing. "Just remember something," he said. "What?" "Clara isn't the judge of your career." I watched him walk back to his desk. His words were kind, but the damage was already done. The rest of the workday moved slowly. No one mentioned the meeting directly, but I could feel the tension. A few coworkers whispered when I walked past. Others suddenly became very busy with their screens. By the time evening arrived, my head felt heavy. I packed my bag quietly and left the office. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, the cool air outside hit my face. I started walking toward my car. The city lights were already glowing across the street, but my thoughts were still trapped inside that conference room. Clara's voice echoed again in my memory. "Are you serious right now?" I unlocked my car and sat inside for a moment. My hands rested on the steering wheel. The silence felt heavy. On the drive home, I replayed the meeting again and again. Every word, every laugh, every moment when the room went silent. By the time I reached my apartment, exhaustion had replaced anger. I dropped my bag on the couch and sat down. The apartment felt quiet. Too quiet. I leaned back and closed my eyes. The worst part wasn't the criticism. It was the laughter. That careless laugh that turned weeks of effort into a joke. And slowly, as the night grew darker, a thought began forming in my mind. A quiet but powerful thought. Maybe staying here wasn't the right choice anymore. The weeks after that meeting felt different. Not in a good way. Every time I walked into the office, I felt like people were watching me. Not openly, but enough for me to notice. One Monday morning, we had another team meeting. I sat at the same conference table. Clara sat across from me. Daniel stood near the screen with a tablet in his hand. "All right, everyone," Daniel said. "Let's discuss campaign ideas for the next quarter." A few coworkers shared suggestions first. Then Daniel looked at me. "Do you have anything to add?" he asked. I cleared my throat. "Actually, yes," I said. "I've been thinking about a targeted social media strategy." Clara interrupted before I could finish. "Again," she said. The word hung in the air. I looked at her. "What do you mean?" I asked. She leaned back in her chair. "I mean another safe idea," she said. "Nothing bold." Daniel shifted slightly. "Let him finish," he said. I nodded and continued. "The idea focuses on smaller audiences but higher engagement," I explained. Clara shook her head slowly. "That sounds nice in theory," she said. "But the market doesn't reward cautious thinking." I kept my voice calm. "It's not cautious," I replied. "It's strategic." She smiled again. "Strategic or predictable?" The room went quiet. One coworker coughed. Daniel rubbed his chin. "Well," he said slowly, "we can review both approaches later." The meeting continued, but the tension stayed in the room. Afterward, people left quickly. No one wanted to get involved. I walked back to my desk feeling the same familiar pressure in my chest. Later that afternoon, I went to the break room to get coffee. The hallway outside was quiet. As I reached the door, I heard voices inside. Clara was talking. I stopped without thinking. "She's nice, but is not leadership material," Clara said. Another voice replied. It was Rachel Turner. Rachel worked in the communications department. "What makes you say that?" Rachel asked. "He's too careful," Clara said confidently. "The company needs stronger people." My hand froze on the door handle. Rachel spoke again. "I thought his presentation last month had potential." Clara laughed lightly. "Potential doesn't run a company," she said. "Confidence does." Rachel stayed quiet. Clara continued. "Honestly, I don't think he's ready for responsibility." Her words felt like a knife. I stepped away from the door quietly before they noticed me. Back at my desk, I stared at my computer screen. My hands rested on the keyboard, but I didn't type anything. A few minutes later, Ethan walked over. "You look like someone stole your lunch," he said. I sighed. "I just overheard Clara talking," I replied. "About you?" "Yes." Ethan pulled a chair beside my desk. "What did she say this time?" he asked. I hesitated. "She told Rachel I'm not leadership material." Ethan rolled his eyes. "That sounds like Clara." "She sounded so sure," I said quietly. Ethan leaned forward slightly. "Listen," he said. "You're making a mistake." "What mistake?" You're letting her words live inside your head. That's easy for you to say. No, he replied. It's easy for you to believe her. I frowned. So what should I do? Ethan crossed his arms. Understand the game. What game? Office politics. I sighed again. I hate office politics. Most people do, Ethan said. But they still exist. I leaned back in my chair. She keeps attacking my ideas, I said. That's because you react, Ethan replied. So I should just stay silent. No, he said. You should stay calm. I looked at him. That's different. He nodded. Clara wants attention, he continued. The more you react, the stronger she feels. I thought about the meetings. Every interruption. Every sarcastic comment. So ignoring her will solve it. I asked. Ethan shook his head. No, he said honestly. But it weakens her. I rubbed my temples. The office feels toxic lately. Yeah, Ethan admitted. You're not imagining that. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then Ethan asked something unexpected. Have you ever thought about leaving? I blinked. That's a big question. Still, he said, have you? I stared at the screen again. To be honest, I said slowly, yes. Ethan nodded like he expected that answer. Sometimes the best move, he said, is walking away. But I worked hard to get this job. I know. And I don't like quitting. Leaving isn't always quitting, Ethan said. I looked at him. Sometimes it's choosing something better. His words stayed in my mind long after he returned to his desk. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. Emails, reports, routine tasks. But my thoughts kept drifting. For the first time in my career, I began seriously considering leaving the company. The idea scared me. It felt risky, uncertain, but it also created something unexpected inside me. A strange sense of freedom. Like a door I had never noticed before was slowly opening. Another meeting arrived. By then, meetings had started to feel like battlefields. That morning, Ethan stopped by my desk. You look serious, he said. I didn't sleep much, I replied. Thinking about Clara again. Thinking about everything. Ethan leaned on my desk. Big meeting today, he said. I know. You ready? I paused. I prepared for days. He nodded. Then just present your idea and ignore the noise. I gave a small smile. I'll try. A few minutes later, Daniel's voice echoed across the office. Team meeting in 5 minutes. People started gathering their laptops. I walked toward the conference room slowly. Clara was already there. She sat at the far side of the table, scrolling through her phone. Rachel sat beside her. Daniel stood near the screen. All right, everyone, Daniel said once the room filled. Today we are discussing the Horizon project. Several people straightened in their chairs. This project was important. Who wants to begin? Daniel asked. A coworker named Jason spoke first. Then Rachel shared her ideas. Daniel nodded. Good start, he said. What about you? He looked at me. My heartbeat quickened. I've been working on something, I said. I opened my laptop. Slides appeared on the screen. This strategy focuses on long-term client loyalty, I explained, instead of chasing fast growth. Clara suddenly laughed. Not loudly, but loud enough. The sound cut through the room. I stopped speaking. She looked up slowly. This sounds familiar, she said. I felt the room tense. What do you mean? I asked. Clara leaned back in her chair. Didn't we already reject your ideas last time? Someone near the door chuckled nervously. Another coworker shifted in their seat. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Let him finish, Daniel said. Clara raised her hand slightly. Sure, she replied. I'm just saying we've heard this before. I looked around the room. Some people avoided eye contact. Others stared at the table. The same feeling of humiliation began rising again. Hot. Heavy. Familiar. Clara continued speaking. I mean, she said casually, how many times do we need to repeat the same mistake? Another awkward laugh came from the corner. For a moment I thought about arguing. I could explain the strategy again. I could defend every point. But something inside me felt different. Calmer. Almost tired. I slowly closed my laptop. The sound of the lid clicking shut echoed softly. Clara frowned. "What?" she asked. I looked directly at her. "I think you're right," I said quietly. Her expression changed. "What?" I said you're right. Daniel blinked. "About what?" Clara asked. I took a slow breath. "About my ideas," I said. The room went silent. Clara looked confused. Rachel glanced between us. Daniel stepped forward slightly. "Are you saying you're withdrawing the proposal?" he asked. I shook my head gently. "No." Clara crossed her arms. "Then what exactly are you saying?" I stood up slowly. My chair slid backward with a soft sound. "I'm saying something else," I replied. Daniel watched me carefully. "So say it," Clara said impatiently. I looked around the table one last time. The same room. The same people. The same tension. "I don't belong in this room anymore," I said quietly. The silence that followed felt heavy. Rachel's eyes widened. Daniel spoke first. "Wait," he said. "Let's talk about this." Clara stared at me. "Are you being dramatic?" I shook my head. "No." Ethan, who had been sitting near the door, finally spoke. "What are you doing?" he asked carefully. I looked at him. "Making a decision." Daniel stepped closer. "You don't have to decide anything right now," he said. "I already did," I replied. Clara laughed softly. "You're quitting because of criticism." I met her eyes. "No," I said calmly. "I'm leaving because of disrespect." Her smile faded slightly. Daniel rubbed his forehead. "Let's slow down," he said. "We can discuss this after the meeting." I picked up my laptop. There's nothing left to discuss. Ethan stood up halfway. "Are you serious?" he asked. "Yes." Clara tilted her head. "So you're just walking out?" I nodded. "Yes." Daniel sighed. "You're a talented employee," he said. "Don't make a rushed decision." I gave a small, tired smile. "It's not rushed." Clara leaned forward. "You'll regret this," she said. Maybe she believed that. Maybe everyone in the room believed it. But something inside me felt strangely light. For the first time in weeks, the pressure in my chest disappeared. "I don't think I will," I replied. I turned toward the door. Behind me, I heard Daniel call my name. "Wait." I paused for half a second. But I didn't turn around. Instead, I opened the door and walked into the hallway. The quiet outside felt different. Calmer. Freer. My footsteps echoed softly as I walked away from the conference room. No one followed me. No one stopped me. That moment, walking out of that room, became the turning point of my life. Later that afternoon, I sat alone in a small cafe, staring at the steam rising from my coffee. The noise of the city hummed outside, but inside my mind everything felt strangely quiet. For years I had worked hard to prove myself, yet lately it felt like none of it mattered. A waiter approached. "Another coffee." I nodded. "Yeah, thanks." He placed the cup on the table and walked away. I wrapped my hands around the warmth and sighed. Why am I letting this happen to me? I muttered under my breath. I could still hear Clara's voice from the meeting earlier that day. "This sounds familiar," she had said with that same sarcastic tone. "Didn't we already reject your ideas last time?" I shook my head and whispered, "You didn't reject them. You just didn't listen." For years I had believed that hard work was enough. If I stayed late, delivered results, and supported the team, eventually people would respect me. But lately that belief felt naive. My phone buzzed on the table. It was Ethan. "Still alive after today's meeting?" his message read. I typed back quickly. "Barely." A few seconds later my phone rang. I answered. "Hey." "Man," Ethan said, "that meeting was rough." "You noticed." "Of course I noticed. Clara went after you again." I rubbed my forehead. "It's not just today. It's every meeting." "Then say something," he replied. "I've tried." So try louder. It's not that simple, I said quietly. What do you mean? I'm tired, Ethan. There was a short silence on the phone. Tired of Clara? He asked. Tired of fighting just to be heard? He sighed. You're one of the best people on that team. Apparently not. Don't say that. But it feels true. You're letting her get inside your head. I know. So what are you going to do about it? I looked around the cafe. People were laughing, talking, living normal lives. And suddenly a strange thought crossed my mind. I think I'm done, I said slowly. Done with what? With the company. Ethan was silent. You're serious? Yeah. That's a big decision. I know. What will you do instead? I stared at the window where city lights were beginning to appear. I want to build something of my own. Your own company. Maybe. Wow. You think I'm crazy? No, he said. I think you're brave. I smiled slightly. It doesn't feel brave. It will tomorrow. Tomorrow? When you actually do it. That night I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the same question. What if I regret this? But another voice inside me kept whispering something stronger. What if this is the best decision of my life? The next morning I walked into the office earlier than usual. My heart was beating faster than normal. Rachel noticed me near the elevator. Morning, she said. You look serious today. I am serious. That sounds mysterious. It's just an important day. Good luck with whatever it is, she said with a small smile. Thanks. I walked down the hallway toward Daniel's office. Every step felt heavier than the last. I knocked on the door. Come in, Daniel said. I stepped inside. He looked up from his laptop. Morning, he said. What's up? I closed the door behind me. I need to talk to you. His expression became curious. All right. I took a slow breath. I'm resigning. For a moment he just stared at me. Then he leaned back in his chair. You're serious? Yes. You're one of our most creative employees, he said. Why would you leave? I kept my voice calm. I've been thinking about this for a while. Did something happen? Nothing specific. That doesn't sound convincing, he replied. I smiled slightly. Maybe not. He folded his hands together. If this is about yesterday's meeting. It's not. You're sure? Yes. He studied my face carefully. So what is it? I hesitated for a moment, then answered honestly. I want to build something of my own. Daniel stayed silent for several seconds. Then he nodded slowly. That's unexpected. I know. Do you have a plan? Not a perfect one. That's honest. I just know I need a change. He sighed. Well, I can't stop you. I appreciate that. When will your last day be? I can stay 2 more weeks to help transition. That would help. He stood up and extended his hand. I wish you luck. I shook his hand firmly. Thank you. As I walked toward the door, he said one more thing. You know, he added, sometimes the biggest opportunities come from uncomfortable moments. I turned slightly. I hope you're right. I think you'll do well. Thanks, Daniel. I stepped out of the office and closed the door behind me. The hallway felt strangely quiet. My chest was tight with nervous energy. But beneath the fear there was something else. Relief. I walked toward the elevator and whispered to myself, well, no turning back now. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside and pressed the lobby button. As the doors closed, I felt a small smile forming on my face. Leaving that office felt terrifying. But for the first time in months, I felt proud of myself. The first few weeks after leaving the company felt strangely quiet. No morning meetings. No office emails. No Clara. But the silence also meant something else. No salary. I sat at my kitchen table staring at my laptop, scrolling through my savings account. This better work, I muttered to myself. My phone buzzed. It was Ethan. Still surviving? He asked. Barely, I replied. I didn't realize how scary freedom could feel. He laughed softly. Freedom always feels scary at first. Easy for you to say. You still have a paycheck. That's fair, he admitted. But you also have something I don't. And what's that? A clean slate. I leaned back in my chair. A clean slate doesn't pay rent. Give it time, he said. I'm trying. You still working on that strategy idea you told me about? Every day. Good. But honestly, I admitted, sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake. You didn't, Ethan said immediately. You sound very confident. Because I know you. You might be overestimating me. I doubt it. I sighed. The hardest part is starting from zero. Everyone starts from zero. Not at my age. That's just fear talking. Maybe. Listen, he continued. I actually wanted to tell you something. What? I know someone you should meet. I frowned slightly. Who? Her name is Sophia Carter. Never heard of her. She runs a small marketing startup. That sounds interesting. She's always looking for people with strong strategy skills. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you have exactly the kind of mind she likes. You already told her about me. Maybe. Ethan. What? I'm helping. I couldn't help smiling. All right. When do I meet her? Tomorrow afternoon. That soon? She's busy. Where? Small cafe downtown. Of course it's a cafe. He laughed. Entrepreneurs love cafes. The next day I arrived 10 minutes early. The cafe smelled like roasted coffee and fresh pastries. I chose a table near the window and tried to calm my nerves. Relax, I whispered to myself. A few minutes later a confident voice spoke beside me. You must be the strategist Ethan keeps talking about. I looked up. A woman stood there with a calm smile and sharp eyes. I'm guessing you're Sophia, I said. That's right, she replied, sitting down across from me. Nice to meet you. Likewise. A waiter approached. Coffee? She asked. Yes, please. After the waiter left, she leaned forward slightly. So Ethan tells me you recently left a corporate job. That's correct. Voluntarily. Yes. That's rare. I guess I needed a change. What kind of change? I wanted to build something meaningful. She nodded slowly. That's a good answer. But I'm still figuring things out. That's normal, she said. What exactly does your company do? I asked. We help small brands grow through smart marketing strategy. That sounds interesting. It's also chaotic. I can handle chaos. She smiled. Good. So Ethan said you had some ideas. Yes. Tell me. I opened my laptop and showed her a few strategy models I had been developing. She studied the screen carefully. That reaction sounds dangerous, I said. No, it's good, she replied. Good. Yes. What do you like about it? Your thinking is different from typical consultants. In what way? You focus on long-term positioning instead of quick results. That's intentional. Most people chase short-term numbers. That's why most campaigns fail. She leaned back and crossed her arms thoughtfully. You know, she said slowly, this is impressive. I blinked. Really? Yes. That's encouraging. You're wasting this talent working alone. What do you mean? You should partner with us. I stared at her for a moment. Partner? Yes. That's a big offer. I don't make it lightly. You barely know me. I know good thinking when I see it. I laughed nervously. You're very direct. Business doesn't reward hesitation. What would this partnership look like? I asked. You focus on strategy. And you? I handle operations, clients, and growth. That actually sounds balanced. It is. But why trust me? She shrugged slightly. Because your ideas show confidence. That's surprising. Why? Because a few months ago my confidence was completely destroyed. By who? Someone from my old job. She nodded knowingly. Toxic workplace. You could say that. Well, she said calmly, that environment doesn't define you. I'm starting to believe that. So what do you say? She asked. I took a deep breath. This could change everything. Sometimes that's the point. I closed my laptop slowly. All right, I said. All right, what? I'm in. She smiled widely. Good decision. Over the next few weeks we began working together. The experience felt completely different from my old job. Instead of competition, there was collaboration. Instead of criticism, there were ideas. One afternoon Sophia looked at a campaign plan I had created. This is brilliant, she said. You think so? I know so. That feels strange to hear. You're still recovering from your old environment. Probably. But you'll get used to this. Used to what? Working with people who actually respect you. I smiled. That sounds nice. Our small team slowly began growing. New clients arrived. New projects appeared. The work was intense, but exciting. One evening Ethan joined us for dinner. So, he asked with a grin, how's the new partnership? I laughed. Honestly? It's amazing. Sophia raised her glass. He's being modest. Oh really? Ethan said. Yes, she replied. His strategies helped us land 3 new clients. Ethan looked at me proudly. I told you he was good. I shrugged slightly. I'm still learning. Sophia shook her head. No, she said confidently. You're finally in the right environment. Later that night, as I walk home through the city lights, a memory flashed in my mind. The meeting room. Clara's voice. The laughter. For a moment the old humiliation returned. But this time it felt different. Instead of pain, it felt like fuel. I whispered quietly to myself. That moment didn't destroy me. It pushed me forward. And because of that memory, I worked harder than ever before. A year passed faster than I expected. Our small startup had grown into something real. Clients trusted us. Campaigns succeeded. And for the first time in my career, people were listening to my ideas instead of mocking them. One morning my phone rang while I was reviewing a campaign report. Good morning, genius, Ethan said the moment I answered. That sounds suspicious, I replied. Why? You only call me genius when you have news. He laughed. Fair point. So what happened? You won't believe this. Try me. Your old company just lost their biggest client. I paused. Seriously? Completely serious. How do you know? A friend still works there. That must be chaos. Apparently the office is in panic mode. I leaned back in my chair. That's surprising. Is it? A little. You were the strategist behind several of their campaigns, Ethan reminded me. True. And after you left? Maybe they struggled. Maybe. Okay, probably. He chuckled. How does it feel? I thought for a moment. Strange. Not satisfying. Not exactly. Why not? I expected revenge to feel better. So what does it feel like? Like closure. That's healthier than revenge, he said. I guess. By the way, he added, there's something else. What now? Your name appeared in a marketing blog this morning. I blinked. Wait, what? They mentioned your strategy model. You're kidding. Nope. Send me the link. I already did. I opened my email and clicked the article. There it was. My name. My ideas. My strategy. All publicly recognized. Wow, I whispered. Feels good, doesn't it? Ethan asked. It feels unreal. You earned it. I used to dream about moments like this. And now it's happening. Yes. See, he said proudly. I told you leaving that job would lead somewhere better. You did. Remember when you doubted yourself? Every day. And now I feel different. How? Stronger. That's growth. Later that afternoon, Sophia walked into my office holding a tablet. You're famous, she said. That's an exaggeration. Not really. You saw the article. Of course. What do you think? I think the writer is correct. That's nice to hear. But that's not why I came here. Oh. She placed the tablet on my desk. Look at this. It was an invitation. A business conference. I asked. Yes. That's a big one. Very big. You want us to attend? Not just attend. What do you mean? They invited you as a speaker. I stared at her. Wait, me? Yes. You're serious? Completely. I've never spoken at a conference. You will do fine. That sounds terrifying. She laughed. You handle clients worth millions, but a microphone scares you. A little. You'll get used to it. I kept reading the invitation. Then I noticed something. Hold on, I said slowly. What? This conference. Yes. My old company will be there. She nodded calmly. I know. You knew. Of course. I leaned back in my chair. That's interesting. Does it bother you? I'm not sure. Are you afraid? No. Angry? Not really. Then what? I guess I'm curious. About what? How it will feel to see them again. Sophia crossed her arms thoughtfully. You've changed a lot since then. I know. The person who left that meeting room is not the same person sitting here. That's true. Then why worry? I'm not worried. Then what are you feeling? I thought carefully before answering. Closure. That word again, she said. Yes. She smiled slightly. Then this conference might be perfect. Why? Because sometimes the best revenge is quiet success. I nodded slowly. That makes sense. The conference arrived 2 weeks later. The event was held in a large hotel filled with business leaders and marketing professionals. As I walked into the lobby, memories flooded back. Conference rooms. Presentations. Judging eyes. For a moment I felt nervous. Then Sophia spoke beside me. Relax. I'm trying. You belong here. That's still strange to hear. It shouldn't be. Ethan joined us near the registration desk. Look at this place, he said. Impressive, I replied. Ready for your speech? Almost. You'll do great. I hope so. As we walked toward the main hall, my eyes scanned the crowd. Then suddenly I froze. Ethan noticed immediately. What happened? I spoke quietly. My old team is here. Already? Yes. Sophia looked in the same direction. Which ones? I pointed slightly. There. Across the hall I recognized several familiar faces. Rachel Turner. A few former coworkers. And near them, Clara. My heart beat faster for a moment. Ethan studied my expression. You okay? Yes. You sure? I'm sure. Sophia asked calmly. What are you thinking right now? I took a slow breath. A year ago I walked out of a meeting feeling humiliated. And now? Now I'm here as a speaker. Ethan smiled. That's quite a difference. Yes. Sophia nodded approvingly. Are you ready to face them? I looked across the hall again. Clara hadn't noticed me yet. But soon she would. For the first time since leaving that office, I would stand in the same room with the people who once laughed at me. But something inside me had changed. I no longer felt small. I no longer felt angry. Instead, I felt calm. I turned to Sophia and Ethan. Let's go. Where? Ethan asked. To the stage. Already? Yes. Sophia smiled proudly. That's the confidence I like. As we walked toward the conference hall, one thought echoed clearly in my mind. I wasn't the same person who walked out of that meeting room. Not even close. The conference hall buzzed with voices and quiet conversations as people moved between booths and meeting tables. I adjusted my jacket and walked beside Sophia and Ethan. "Relax," Ethan whispered. "I am relaxed," I replied. "You look like you're about to face a final exam." "This feels bigger than an exam." Sophia smiled slightly. "You're overthinking." "Maybe." "Just be yourself," she said. "That worked well last time," I joked. Ethan laughed. "Trust me," he said. "This version of you is very different." We walked deeper into the hall. Suddenly someone called my name. "Hey, is that really you?" I turned and saw Rachel Turner walking toward me. "Rachel," I said. "Wow," she said with a surprised smile. "I almost didn't recognize you." "Is that good or bad?" "Definitely good." She shook my hand. "I read about your startup," she said. "It's impressive." "Thank you." "I'm serious," she continued. "Everyone at the office talks about it." "Really?" "Oh yes." "What do they say?" "That you built something amazing." "That's nice to hear." She hesitated before adding, "And honestly, some people feel a little guilty." "Guilty?" "About how things ended." I shrugged. "That's in the past." Rachel nodded slowly. "You handled it better than most people would." "I didn't feel strong back then." "Well," she said, smiling, "you look strong now." "Thanks." Ethan stepped forward. "Rachel, right?" he said. "Yes." "I'm Ethan." "Oh, I remember you." Sophia introduced herself next. "I'm Sophia Carter." Rachel's eyes widened. "The Sophia Carter." Sophia laughed. "Just Sophia is fine." Rachel shook her hand quickly. "It's nice to meet you." Before anyone could say more, the atmosphere shifted. Someone else had walked closer. I didn't even need to turn to know who it was. But I did anyway. Clara Bennett stood a few steps away. For a moment none of us spoke. Ethan quietly stepped back. Rachel looked nervous. Sophia watched calmly. Clara finally broke the silence. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said. Her voice sounded different. Quieter. Less confident. I smiled politely. "Things change," I replied. She crossed her arms awkwardly. "Yes, they do." A few seconds passed. Then she spoke again. "I heard about your company." "Word travels fast." "It does." She hesitated before continuing. "Congratulations." "Thank you." The conversation paused again. I noticed something strange. The anger I used to feel around her was gone. Completely gone. Clara shifted her weight slightly. "I read the article about your strategy work," she said. "Oh." "It was impressive." "I appreciate that." She glanced around the room. "This conference invited you as a speaker, right?" "Yes." "That's a big deal." "It's a good opportunity." Clara looked at me carefully. "You seem different." "In what way?" "Calmer." "I feel calmer." She nodded slowly. "That's good." Rachel cleared her throat softly. "Well, I should probably check the schedule," she said. "Good seeing you," I replied. "You too." She walked away, leaving Clara standing with us. Ethan leaned toward me. "I'm getting coffee," he whispered. "Good idea." Sophia followed him. "I'll join," she said. "Take your time." Soon Clara and I were standing alone. The noise of the conference continued around us. But our conversation felt strangely quiet. Clara finally spoke again. "I've thought about that meeting many times," she admitted. I looked at her calmly. "Which meeting?" "You know which one." "The presentation." "Yes." She sighed slightly. "I shouldn't have handled it the way I did." I stayed silent. "I was competitive back then," she continued. "Back then." "Yes." "And now?" "Now I realize something." "What's that?" Winning an argument isn't the same as being right. I nodded. That's true. She studied my face carefully. Do you still hate me? The question surprised me. No, I said honestly. Not even a little. Not anymore. Why not? Because my life improved after I left. She looked down briefly. That makes sense. I learned something important, I added. What? Sometimes the worst moments push us toward better paths. Clara nodded slowly. I believe that. Another pause filled the space between us. Then she spoke again. You know something strange. What? After you left the company, things changed. How? The office lost direction. That happens. Your ideas helped more than people realized. That's kind of you to say. I'm being honest. She looked around the conference hall again. I never expected you to succeed this fast. I didn't either. But you did. Yes. Clara took a deep breath. I'm glad. Her words sounded sincere. For a moment we stood there quietly. Then she said something unexpected. I'm sorry. The apology hung in the air. I looked at her carefully. I believe you. You do. Yes. She seemed relieved. Thank you. I shrugged lightly. We were both younger. That's true. And people grow. Yes, they do. Across the hall, Ethan waved at me. Looks like your speech is starting soon, Clara said. Probably. She stepped slightly aside. Well, good luck. Thank you. As I began walking toward the stage area, Clara spoke one more time. Hey. I turned back. Yes. She gave a small smile. I'm curious to hear your ideas this time. I smiled back. This time, I said calmly, people are actually listening. And for the first time, that truth felt completely real. The conference hall felt different when I walked toward the stage. Ethan leaned closer to me. You ready? He asked. I think so, I replied. Think so? That's the best answer you're getting. Sophia smiled beside me. You'll do great, she said. I hope the audience thinks the same. They will. You sound very confident. I've seen your work, she replied. Confidence is easy. A staff member approached us. You're up in 2 minutes, she said. Thank you, I answered. Ethan patted my shoulder. Just speak the way you usually do. Meaning? Honest and direct. I can do that. Sophia gestured toward the stage. Remember, she said quietly, this room is full of potential clients. No pressure, I joked. She laughed softly. You've handled worse. That was true. The moderator walked onto the stage and greeted the audience. I stood behind the curtain for a moment. My heart beat faster. Ethan leaned in one last time. You survived, Clara, he whispered. This is easy compared to that. Exactly. The moderator called my name. Please welcome our next speaker. I stepped onto the stage. Bright lights filled my vision. Dozens of faces looked toward me. I took a slow breath. Good afternoon, I began. The room became quiet. I'm glad to be here today. I noticed several familiar faces in the audience. Former coworkers, industry professionals, and near the middle row, Clara. She was watching carefully. Not laughing. Not whispering. Just listening. I continued speaking. Marketing isn't only about numbers, I said. It's about understanding people. Someone in the front row nodded. I kept explaining our strategy. Our team focuses on long-term relationships, I said. Not quick wins. A man raised his hand. Can you give an example? He asked. Of course, I replied. I described one of our recent campaigns. The audience listened closely. Another person spoke up. How did you convince clients to trust a young company? By showing results, I answered. That's the only language businesses respect. Soft laughter spread through the room. The atmosphere felt relaxed. Questions continued coming. What inspired your approach? Experience, I said honestly. And a few difficult lessons. Another attendee asked, "Do you believe failure is necessary for success?" I smiled slightly. Yes. Why? Because failure forces you to grow. The moderator checked the time. We have time for one last question. A woman in the back stood up. What advice would you give young professionals facing criticism? For a moment I paused. I thought about that meeting. The laughter. The silence. The humiliation. Then I answered. Choose your environment carefully. The audience looked curious. Talent grows faster where respect exists, I continued. If people constantly tear you down. I paused again. Sometimes the smartest move is simply leaving. Several people nodded. The moderator smiled. Thank you for that honest answer. Applause began spreading across the room. At first it was soft. Then it grew louder. I stepped back from the microphone. The applause continued. I felt something strange inside me. Not pride. Not relief. Just calm. When I left the stage, Ethan was waiting. That was amazing, he said. You think so? I know so. Sophia joined us. You handled the questions perfectly, she said. Thank you. Several investors asked about our company already. That's good news. It's very good news. While we were talking, someone approached slowly. I turned. Clara stood there again. Ethan glanced at me. I'll give you a minute, he said quietly. Sophia nodded. We'll be near the coffee table. Soon Clara and I stood facing each other again. She spoke first. You were always talented, she admitted quietly. Her words sounded sincere. Thank you, I said. I mean it. I know. She looked slightly uncomfortable. When you spoke today, she continued, the room listened. That's usually the goal. I remember the old meetings, she said. So do I. She hesitated. I didn't realize how much pressure I created. That happens sometimes. She studied my expression. You don't seem angry. I'm not. Really? Yes. She seemed surprised. I expected resentment. I used to feel that. And now? Now I see things differently. How? Sometimes people just need the right environment. Clara nodded slowly. That makes sense. The environment matters more than most people think. She crossed her arms lightly. I guess I learned that the hard way. What do you mean? Our department struggled after you left. I heard a little about that. She sighed. Your strategies helped more than we realized. I'm glad they helped. For a moment she looked directly at me. You deserved better back then. Maybe. I'm serious. I know you are. Another quiet pause passed. Then she spoke again. I'm glad you found success. Thank you. You earned it. I appreciate that. She glanced toward the stage. You know what surprised me most? What? You looked confident. I feel confident. That's new. Yes, I admitted. She gave a small smile. I guess karma works in quiet ways. Sometimes it does. She nodded once more. Well, congratulations again. Thank you, Clara. As she walked away, I watched the crowd around the conference hall. For the first time since that humiliating meeting long ago, I felt truly free. That evening I stepped outside the conference building with Sophia. The cool air felt refreshing after the busy event. Sophia stretched her arm slightly. Well, she said, that was quite a day. You're telling me, I replied. She glanced at me with a small smile. So, how do you feel? Relieved. Only relieved. And a little surprised. Surprised about what? That everything went smoothly. Sophia laughed softly. You handled that stage like a professional. I was nervous. You didn't show it. That's good to hear. We started walking slowly along the sidewalk. City lights reflected across the wet streets. Sophia looked up at the tall buildings. You know, she said, conferences usually drain me. Same here. But today felt different. How so? I watched people listen to you. That's normal at a presentation. No, she said, shaking her head. They respected you. Her words made me pause for a moment. I'm still getting used to that. Why? For a long time I doubted myself. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Really? Yes. That's hard to believe. It's true. She crossed her arms thoughtfully. Was it because of your old company? In some ways. You never told me the full story. I guess I never felt the need. Well, she said gently, we have time now. I looked at the glowing skyline ahead of us. You remember the meeting I mentioned once? The one where someone insulted your idea? Yes. What exactly happened? I exhaled slowly. I was presenting a strategy one worked on for weeks. And one coworker interrupted me. Sophia frowned slightly. Interrupted how? She laughed. Sophia's expression changed immediately. She laughed at your presentation. Yes. That's incredibly unprofessional. I thought so too. What did your manager do? Nothing. Nothing. He looked uncomfortable, but he stayed silent. Sophia shook her head. That must have been awful. It was. What did you do? At first I tried to defend my idea. And? She kept mocking it. Sophia stopped walking for a moment. I can't imagine sitting through that. Neither could I. So that's when you decided to leave? Not immediately. Then what happened? I tried ignoring the situation for a while. Did it help? Not really. Sophia nodded slowly. Toxic workplaces rarely improve on their own. That's exactly what I realized. She looked at me carefully. Do you regret leaving your old company? The question hung in the air. I thought about it carefully. A year ago my answer would have been complicated. Back then I believed Clara had destroyed my career. But time had changed my perspective. I shook my head slowly. No. Sophia smiled. That was a confident answer. It's the honest one. What changed your mind? I started seeing the situation differently. Explain. At first I believed I was the victim. You weren't. In some ways I was. So what changed? I realized something important. What? That moment forced me to make a choice. What kind of choice? Whether to stay somewhere I wasn't respected. Sophia nodded. That's a powerful decision. It didn't feel powerful at the time. Why not? Because leaving felt like failure. She shook her head again. It wasn't failure. I know that now. And look where you ended up. With a startup that's actually working. More than working, she corrected. We are growing fast. That's still strange to me. What part? That everything changed because of one meeting. Sophia smiled thoughtfully. Life works like that sometimes. One moment shifts everything. Exactly. We continued walking along the quiet street. Cars passed slowly beside us. After a moment, Sophia spoke again. You know what I admire most about you? What's that? You didn't stay bitter. I was bitter at first. That's normal. But eventually the anger disappeared. How? Success helped. Sophia laughed. That's honest. But there's more to it. Like what? I stopped thinking about revenge. Interesting. Instead I focused on building something better. Sophia nodded approvingly. That's the healthiest approach. I think so too. She glanced toward the skyline again. So if Clara stood here right now, she asked, what would you say to her? I considered the question. Probably nothing. Nothing. I already said everything that matters. When? Earlier today. When you spoke on stage? Yes. Sophia smiled knowingly. That answer about choosing the right environment. Exactly. That was a good line. It wasn't meant to be clever. But it was. I just spoke honestly. That's why it worked. We reached the corner of the street and paused near a quiet crosswalk. Sophia looked at me again. You realize something, right? What? You didn't just rebuild your career. What do you mean? You rebuilt your confidence. Her words made me reflect for a moment. I guess I did. And that's the real victory. I looked out at the bright city lights. For years I had worked hard to prove myself. Back then I believed success meant approval, recognition, validation. But now I understood something deeper. The greatest revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's building a life where their opinion no longer matters. Sophia gently tapped my shoulder. Where did you go just now? Just thinking. About what? About how strange life can be. How so? The moment that once felt like my worst failure. Yes. Actually became the beginning of my best future. Sophia smiled warmly. That's a different kind of victory. I nodded slowly. And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed it.